Michael Kaskey-Blomain, 97.3 ESPN.com, covers the 76ers. MKB, is Embiid a guy you'd pay money to go see play?
Oh yeah, hands down. Already 6 games into his career, I think there's only a few guys in the league that would be more worthwhile to spend your money on to go watch.
There are a lot of the guys in the league. How many guys in this league would you say are worth? I mean, to me, they're dwindling. Like, yeah, LeBron, I'll still pay to go see him. Durant and the Warriors as a team. Other than that, I mean, I love Chris Paul. I don't know if I'm paying money to go see Chris Paul play. I mean, Harden. I mean, I don't know if I'm paying money to go see Harden. I don't know how many guys in this league I'm really paying money. I think Embiid's one of the very few guys that I say, I got to see this guy play.
Yeah, man, it's definitely becoming, can't miss TV basically every time he takes the floor. I think fans across the league are kind of, planning their league pass watching around his schedule as far as what games he's going to be playing and his minute restriction. And, once that comes off around Christmas time and when he's allowed to, bump the playing time up, the numbers and the excitement factor, it's only going to jump up. So, yeah, there's definitely a whole lot of excitement surrounding Joel right now.
So what do you think about them sitting him out tonight? I think it's a big mistake by them. For 3 years we had to watch what we watch. People are only coming to see him. He's one of the few guys in the league you're paying to see, and now you deprive your home fans. I don't mind him sitting tomorrow. You told me he wasn't playing back-to-back, but I don't think it's right that they're sitting him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rough. Like you said, I think everyone knew ahead of time that, he wasn't going to play in back-to-back, so that's not the surprise. Opting to sit him in front of the home fans in favor of playing him on the road is definitely it's a decision that if I were a season ticket holder or someone that had, purchased tickets.
What if you're not a season ticket holder? What if you're going to one game? You go to one game, and this is the game you pick, and you don't get them. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. If you're a guy that specifically picked tickets, for this game to see Embiid, that's certainly something that I could see people taking, an issue with, and it's something that the team maybe should address, especially if they're not going to give advance notice. It'd be one thing if it was announced, 2 days ago that he was going to be sitting this game, but to kind of drop that this morning when people were prepared to watch him play is definitely not the best move.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain writes at 973ESPN.com. He asked the question, have we seen the last of Nerlens Noel in a 76ers uniform? What is the status of Noel, and will we ever see him play again for the 76ers?
Mike, that's a great question. The status is he's still, recovering from that, elective knee surgery he had at the beginning of the preseason. He's in Alabama away from the team doing this recovery. There really hasn't been any updates provided by the team as far as a potential timetable for his return. And, he's been pretty much ghost from, social media or being around the team in general. So, at this point that, it was pretty much conjecture, but you can't help but to wonder if, his days with the Sixers are done. His value really isn't going to go up much playing in the shadow of, Joel Embiid for the 2 months leading up to the trade deadline. He's, clearly unhappy with the situation. You have to just wonder if the Sixers will try to avoid a potentially, cancerous locker room situation and just, ship him out before he ends up returning to the active roster.
Well, okay, so where did the disconnect happen? He sees the 3 guys here, but he has never even given it an opportunity to see where he fits in here. Like, I still contend I'd rather have him play with Embiid than Okafor. I mean, we haven't even seen Okafor and Embiid together. But just seeing Okafor's skill set, I still think that Embiid and Okafor can coexist.
I think that's something that's pretty frustrating about it. As far as from Noel's point of view, like you said, he really didn't even give it a chance yet to play with Embiid. It seems he just has it in his mind. He said at media day when I was down there, and he said that straight up that it can't work, and he hasn't really given it a chance. At the beginning of this season, Embiid and Okafor are both on heavy minute restrictions. Noel could have, he would have been the prime minute getter as far as big guys to start the season off.
They could really use him right now. I mean, when Embiid goes out, they could really use a guy to take over the paint. I mean, Richaun Holmes tries hard. He's an effort guy, but having Noel would be huge right now.
Exactly. And, it kind of comes down to the fact that he knew of this opportunity. Brett Brown spoke of how he planned to use Noel heavily at the beginning of the season, especially with the minute restrictions to the other guys. And with this information, Noel, not that he wasn't hurt or couldn't have benefited, but his surgery was elective. He could be out there, and instead he's not. And I think that, sends a pretty clear message about where his head is at in terms of with the organization.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain's with us. Okafor will start tonight, and he'll play tomorrow night. Does that indicate that he's getting closer to maybe getting the shackles taken off a little bit here?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's about time. This is an injury that the recovery has taken longer and it's been more drawn out than expected, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He wasn't able to really work out to his full extent over the summer. But, at this point, he really hasn't been able to get into a groove much throughout the season, playing limited minutes and missing games. He seems healthy. He said that he's healthy. I think it's it's time to kind of let him get, like you said, take the shackles off and really see what he can do now in his second season.
All right, Bayless called up, not expected to play, but is he getting closer? And what will he add to this team when he's ready?
Yeah, I do believe he's getting closer. People around the team have told me that his debut will be coming, within the coming weeks. There was no date put on it, but he's definitely progressing toward a season debut. I think he's likely to sort of take over that starting point guard spot from Sergio Rodriguez, and it'll just kind of help to even out the entire roster, kind of add the depth, bump Sergio down to the second team, bump TJ down to the third string spot. Just adds another guy that can kind of shoot and make plays and just add a little bit more depth to the roster. So I think it should help certainly when he returns to the lineup.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain. Michael, a lot of Brett Brown talk. They've had chances to win games late. Fair or unfair, what's your take on the way Brown has coached this team through 10?
I mean, I've certainly had a couple issues with some things that he's done, especially down in late in the stretch of games. There's a string of games where he made a few questionable calls down in close games. With that being said, I'm of the camp that a little more patience is needed. He's not really playing with a full deck, and he's obviously players that haven't played together or even in the NBA before. He's once Ben Simmons comes back, and I think some of these injured guys sort of get back into the roster, thinking it's a little bit more fair to judge, the job that Brett does as opposed to what he's had to work with over these first, 10 games.
Now, on that, let me get your take on this, because you look at a Lakers team last year that was horrendous. They added Ingram, who, he hasn't had the impact that Embiid has had, and not even maybe Saric. They're a young team still. They do have some veterans. Does that show how important the coach is to a team?
I think it's definitely a good example. Someone like Luke Walton is, obviously it's a player that's young, and it's a guy that was, just a few years removed from playing in the league himself, like a Tyronn Lue and like a Steve Kerr. I think you're starting to see that some of these NBA coaches that are having success now are some of the younger guys that were players themselves not too long ago that kind of can relate to the game today and also relate to the players of today, which I think is something huge. With the news going on with Phil Jackson and LeBron James and all that, that's an example of the disconnect between some of the older establishment of coaching as opposed to some of these newer guys. So I definitely think that coaching obviously has a huge impact. With that being said, I think the Lakers have a little bit more to work with as far as veterans and even some of their young guys, and the Sixers do. To compare Brett straight up to Luke, I don't think would necessarily be fair in that situation.
Michael, you buying Nick Stauskas at all?
I'm trying to, man. I'm trying to buy whatever he's selling. I'm definitely pleased with the way he's been playing the past few days. It looks like he's, playing with a little bit of increased confidence, which, it's obviously huge for anyone, but especially for him. There's a noticeable difference in his game when he's playing with, he has a little bounce in his step. He feels he's not, thinking that extra second about shooting. He's been taking the ball to the hole pretty well and, trying to step it up on defense. So I have really liked what I've seen from Nick as a bench guy. If he can continue, playing like this going forward, there might be a spot for him after all.
Yeah, and I guess on the flip side, is it time to pull the plug on Covington and cut his minutes back a little bit?
I think so, which is tough to say because he's a guy that's been, really part of the process since, a few seasons back. It showed a lot of promise, but it's just not there right now. I don't know what it is going on with him. It's kind of like the opposite. It seems like his confidence is kind of wavering, and it's just, he's kind of thinking that extra second before shooting. But, it's starting to hurt the team, and I think they have other guys that they could maybe look to give some of those minutes to.
On Twitter, at The Real Mike KB. Check out his article on Nerlens Noel at 97.3 ESPN.com. Sixers whiz tonight. No Joel Embiid. It'll be Jahlil Okafor getting the start, and he's kind of admitted too that not starting, going back and forth, that it's starting to wear on those guys. So those are kind of things that you get concerned about, and you wonder when all the minute restrictions are gone and everybody's out there, what this thing will look like, because I think in February you're going to get a lot different basketball than you're getting right now.
Yeah, certainly. And that starts obviously with Ben Simmons, once he comes back. And just his ability, something the offense has really lacked, I think, has been a guy that can initiate it and sort of make plays and kind of penetrate, obviously all specialties of Ben Simmons. So I think the addition of him, and obviously, once Embiid is not quite as restricted, and Jahlil, like you said, I think we'll definitely see a different team than what we've seen through these first 10 games.
I mean, you can make an argument if Simmons is here, they maybe have 3, 4, 5 wins.
Honestly, yeah, I think so. Not to put too much on his shoulders, but just they've been able to keep it close and competitive in some of these games. And I think a playmaker of Simmons' ability, really kind of would have put them over the edge in certain situations where the offense just kind of stagnates for 3, 4, 5 minute periods of time. Simmons is a guy that you can put in and basically will stop that single-handedly. So I do think they would have at least a couple more wins if he had been in the lineup.
I vote if late in the game it's a 1-point game that Gerald Henderson is pulled from the game.
That seems like a safe bet so far. He's not had the best luck with that.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain, Sixers Wizards tonight. Enjoy the game, pal.
Thanks, Mike. You too, man.